Patrick, good to see you, man.
Yo, you having tough
Did you?
allergy times?
Yeah, dude. Allergies are brutal. Although I have reunited with my Neil Med uh, sinus rinse, which we've talked about before on the show,
Oh, yeah.
and it's helped me a
Yes.
lot.
That's good.
So, do you get allergies or no?
Historically, yes, but I don't know what I did to deserve not really getting it bad this year. I'm just kind of having a smooth time. I don't mean to brag, but that's just
Good job.
maybe I've been eating local honey. I don't know.
Oh, yes. I haven't
N-
been, so maybe that's my issue.
I mean, I haven't either.
Oh, okay. Um, did you guys have a nice trip?
Yeah, Portugal is really beautiful.
Oh, cool.
Recommend it.
Cool. Several of our friends here have gone to Portugal recently, and
It's like the thing that everybody's doing
it's the
now.
thing. It's the thing.
I get, for multiple reasons.
So, for the audience that doesn't know, Pat, his wonderful wife Mary, and our friend Bill and I, we all went on a trip together to Asia, to Hong Kong, and then to Vietnam.
Dude, we were
Uh,
talking about reviving the travel club on this trip. We were like, when the kids get a little older,
yes,
and then we were like, well, Bill's a little behind. He's got a little
that's
one.
okay.
She's
That's
cute,
okay.
but she's little.
She can come.
Yeah.
Accept. We accept.
We accept.
Um, but I figured we could play a little game here where I bring up a photo of somebody that we ran into on our trip, and
Oh.
you have to name the name of the
Oh my
person.
God. Okay. I'm
Okay.
gonna get embarrassed right here.
Okay.
Let's go.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yes.
All right. So uh, I'm going to share
Share
a
screen.
photo, and you tell me if you can remember the name of the person that I'm
Share
sharing. Okay.
share scream. That is monkey who took my sunscreen.
So
Frank.
I was reminded. I think it's worth. I think we got to tell the story quickly.
Okay.
Um, uh, Pat, and Mary and Bill and I all got invited to visit our friend Lena Bui in Vietnam. What
Yeah,
year was it, Pat?
it was 2009. Did you see Lena has like an art uh exhibit going on right now in I forget what country.
I did in Hong Kong because she's
In
seen
Hong
Burma.
Kong?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why did I think it was somewhere else? Anyway, yeah, she's
I
very
think it's in
exciting.
Hong Kong.
Okay.
Um, so anyway, we go on this day-long journey into this forest, and one of the attractions in the forest is the large population of monkeys that's there. And we're walking through the forest, and immediately ahead of us on a bridge, a fairly narrow bridge, I might add, there
Yes.
was a large monkey. I don't know if this guy's, I think between 3 and 4 feet tall.
Crucially, a narrow bridge. Impassable.
Narrow bridge, sort of swampland below it that might or might not have included other creatures that we didn't want to encounter. So the bridge was
Yeah.
our path to safety, quote
Lava.
unquote. And I was into photography and decided I wanted to take a photo of this monkey, which I think the photo turned out, I mean, despite the pixelization, turned out pretty well.
Yeah, well
Great
done.
composition.
Yes.
But the monkey did not like the shutter sound and came
Oh, yeah.
flying at us and flying at Pat, really. This is a big monkey, came right at us. And Pat, what do you remember about that encounter?
Thank you for reminding me that it was your fault that you took the picture with your
Yeah,
shutter sound.
that was
I thought
my
it was
fault.
just that I was flaunting my
No,
bag. It-
it was me. Well, at least that's the way I remember it. So
I think it. Yeah, I don't. I did. I didn't. I mean, no, I don't blame you. I thought we had bags of like I think I had a plastic bag that had like some sunscreen, maybe some like fruit or something, and I thought the monkey
towel.
just saw towel. Yeah,
Yep.
saw that bag and was like, "That's probably got good stuff in it," and just like went for it and ripped it wide open. And then just content scattered, and he took the sunscreen. And we were like,
yeah.
"Why did you take the sunscreen?"
I remember him. I remember I don't know why I say him, but the monkey swinging your towel around in the air and then shoving the sunscreen into its mouth
Yeah.
and running off the bridge. And I think at that moment I just wanted to get out of there.
Yeah, I think we were like, let's leave.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought it'd be funny to bring, because we're
That's
talking about
great.
travel, to bring up this monkey here.
Yeah.
Um,
That was the
So-
only photo. That was good.
yeah, that's the only photo.
Wonderful.
Heejin and I were telling the story this morning to somebody, so I was reminded of the story and needed to bring it up with you.
Fantastic.
Today on Trail Map, we've got John Spangenberger on the show, who is a wonderful human being and also an IP lawyer in Boston.
I'm very interested philosophically in IP.
Yeah,
just as a
well,
whole.
he's the guy. In addition to being, I'm not really in much of a position to evaluate his skills as a lawyer, but he seems very knowledgeable about it.
Mhm.
He's also a very, very, one thing I am able to assess is his teaching ability. He's an extremely strong teacher and explainer of stuff. So I think, Pat, you're going to have an opportunity to have your questions answered today.
Okay. I hope I can make them good. Hope I can hone them.
Well, it's not about that. It's about just being here and being yourself. Just being yourself.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
So that's going to be a great conversation. Thank you all for listening. As always, tell your friends. We're excited. We're continuing to grow this trail map beast, and excited to keep bringing interesting people to you.
Yes.
So without further ado, let's chat with John. John, such a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you for being here.
The pleasure's all mine, Matt. It's my honor to be your second most interesting attorney on the pod. I listened to Chris Butler's episode a few weeks ago, so a little bit of imposter syndrome, but I hope you make me look good.
Have you written any books about beer or maps?
I've drank some beer and I've looked at a map, which I think gets me halfway there.
All right, you're in.
Yeah, thank you. I actually tried to take one of her classes, but it ended up getting canceled at the last minute. So I'm gonna have to meet her someday. Yeah.
Well, I can make that happen.
Don't twist my arm.
We've been talking about doing a reunion, a trail map reunion of all the guests.
Yeah,
but
I mean, there's a lot of Boston guests, so that should be doable.
You're gonna have to fly up, Pat.
Yeah. Maybe
well,
I'll take
Pat's
you.
a traveling musician, so maybe he can play a gig here. And
that's right.
That's right.
You can play music for the reunion. We'll do a beer tasting. It'll be great.
All elements will be combined.
That's right.
Brilliant.
We'll fuse an atom, and we'll eat vegan ramen.
Yeah,
perfect. And I'll lead us on a run. So that's the best I have to offer.
Oh yeah, I'm down.
So I got to meet John at my prior company, and John is an IP attorney based in Boston, and also does some teaching, is a runner, and excited to chat with you today, John. And thank you for listening to the show. You sort of have a sense of what we're all about here. And so I thought you'd be a great person to share with our listeners because of the way that your path, and also the way that you talk about what you do. So I'd love it if you could just introduce yourself, maybe to start.
No, I'd love to. Yeah. So like Matt said, so I'm an intellectual property attorney. So intellectual property is sort of an umbrella term that includes various areas of law, one of which is patent law, which is a lot of what I do in my day-to-day. So I studied electrical engineering as my undergrad degree, which, kind of sounds like a weird path from electrical engineering to law. But actually, every IP attorney you'll meet, or rather every patent attorney that you'll meet, has a STEM background. So we actually need to have one of a very particular list of technical degrees in order to practice patent law. And the reason for that is that, our day-to-day is working with innovators to understand how their invention works, and then translating that into, legal protection. And so without that technical background, there'd be sort of a a missing link in how to help inventors protect their ideas. So that's my day to day. Like you said, I'm also I have many hobbies. I'm extremely extroverted, so it's a bad day if I don't have something going on every night after work. So yeah, love running, big marathoner, and also love teaching. So just wrapped up teaching the spring semester of business law to Suffolk University undergrads. Historically, I've taught some legal writing classes, but this year decided to try out teaching some business law classes. So a lot of fun things going on.
That's so cool. When you were a kid, were you like a tinkerer? Like, were you? I think about like what I know about electrical engineering. Like, I'm just curious, like, what led you down this path?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they say a career only makes sense in retrospect, right? And totally makes sense to me because this was IP law was not in my head as a kid. So I was very into writing as a kid. So I was very into creative writing. Always thought that I was going to be a creative writer in some respect as my profession. But then I took physics in maybe junior year of high school or so, and fell in love with it. It really kind of lit me up for the world of tech and STEM. And I was looking at these two career paths. I could go into creative writing, or I could maybe have a career and go into electrical engineering.
What kind of creative writing did you do?
Good question. I was really into fantasy books. Still am, actually. I'm still a huge reader.
Nice.
So very big into fantasy and sci-fi. In fifth grade, my crowning achievement, I peaked in fifth grade. I wrote this book about this world where in the grocery store, the vegetables and fruits come to life and have a big war with each other. Got a trophy for that, won the creative writing competition. So kind of a big deal here. But yeah, so I did a ton of that kind of creative writing. And, when I was going to undergrad, I told myself, well, I can always write as a hobby. And, of course, that didn't really pan out too much. I've picked it up on and off over the years, but never got fully back into it.
That's really cool. My son also in second grade. At this point, he's sure that he wants to be a fantasy writer.
No kidding.
And so he's on that path right now.
You've got him. Go ahead, Pat.
I was going to say he's on the IP lawyer track.
That's right. That's right. You've got him into Lord of the Rings right now, right, Matt?
Yeah. Well, actually, right now he's been listening to. Pat's got kids about the same age, and I'm curious, Pat, are your kids into Greeking out?
I don't know that. They would be because they have been into Percy Jackson and all the related series. And my son knows way more about Greek mythology than I do. So they
well, National Geographic has a podcast series, 10 seasons of a podcast series called Greeking Out. And Will is obsessed. And and he's committed to Greek mythology versus Roman mythology. He got really interested in the Odyssey, which has actually come up on our prior episode because I know Pat's family book group read the Emily Wilson translation of the Odyssey, the new one recently.
Yeah. Well, remember, there's the movie coming out with Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Yes. And so actually, we've been reading the Odyssey to Will at night, which he's like super into. And last night we were talking about, and I don't mean to go on about Will here, but we were talking about the role of translator in translating these epics, and now he wants to learn Greek so he can work on his own translation. So that's his next goal, I guess.
Yeah, he's going to be a Greek major. Yeah, I was very into Percy Jackson as a kid. So, Will is on the exact same track I was.
Nice. Yeah. Well, we'd be lucky if he turned out. That'd be cool. So you were on this creative writing track. Then you got exposed to physics, and you're like, "Whoa, this is really cool." It was just like a curiosity-driven thing.
Yeah, I think it was born by kind of the fascination with just understanding how the world works, right? I mean, physics was one of the first science classes where I started to really understand I don't know, why is it that when you're driving down the road in the summertime, you see like that mirage, that reflection ahead of you, stuff like that I could start to apply sort of a framework to understand the world better. And that was fascinating. You just start to see these kind of hidden workings of things working in the world that really intrigued me. And in particular, the circuits unit of our physics class really, drew my attention, where so much of the world back then, and certainly more so now, is computerized. It was just so fascinating for me to be able to understand how all of that worked. So, where I was at that crossroads where I thought, I love creative writing, but I also love physics, and it seems like it has a lot more job prospects. That's what drove me to study electrical engineering. And I thought that's what I was going to do. I thought I was going to be an engineer all throughout college. So I had an internship with the Air Force doing some software development. And then I had an internship with Procter & Gamble doing lean manufacturing. And they were, enjoyable. I liked them well enough. But I saw, my brother, he's a few years older than I am. Was getting, now has his PhD in material science at WPI. And, he is the foremost expert on like crack analysis in aluminum in like the automotive and aerospace industries, which is super
Wait.
cool. Yeah,
Just
go
can
ahead.
you give us 30 seconds on what that is?
Oh my God, I wish I could.
Okay.
So in the aerospace and automotive industries, your material, you need your material to not be fatigued and break, right? And so
Sure.
if
Okay.
cracks form, you need to understand how those cracks can expand, get worse. And so what he was doing was studying how you can cast, or I don't know if cast is the right word, but cast aluminum to make it more durable, right?
Okay.
So now he runs the additive manufacturing lab there at WPI. So he's kind of a WPI lifer. And so he's still doing great materials work. And all of that is so amazing for him, and sounded like my worst nightmare was being, so like focused on this one narrow topic where I wanted to, look at a wide variety of different things. So when I found out about patent law, which was just through dumb luck, I had a friend of a friend my senior year of college who was in the field, found out about it through him and thought, oh my goodness, this is a match made in heaven for me. You get to see new technologies every day, right? Like this morning, I'm working on a medical device, implantable device. Later this afternoon, I'm going to be working on this, power supply for data centers. So the variety is wonderful, and I still get to scratch that itch of the creative writing interest. And I was very into debate team as well in high school. So I get to argue with patent examiners, debate them about the metes and bounds of what our invention is, and then actually get to stretch that creative writing muscle in a sense. Legal technical writing is not. I'm not winning a Pulitzer over here for it, but it's fun, and it gets to scratch that itch where if I just practiced engineering, I'd probably have much less chance to write as much as I enjoy doing so.
You have the chance to unite the humanities and the sciences a little bit.
That's right. That's right. Only I can bring the two worlds together.
We have Matt. I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember the line from our classic college era song, "Party on Fountain," that goes, "Party with humanities, party with science, join the International Party Alliance."
Yes, I do remember
So
that.
that's what you've managed to do.
You two were in a band together, Matt. You were in the band too.
No. Pat is really nice to affiliate that song with me in any way. But Pat, did you write that song, Pat, or it was written by
It was a
Molly?
it was a co-write. It was a co-write. But I literally, this is in my mind because I was thinking about it on my way home from the doctor. I can't even remember why, but literally I thought about that earlier. Maybe it was part of my preparation for this interview.
That's
Of
right.
course,
That's
of
right.
course.
Important. Yeah, the hard-hitting research.
Of course. Well, it's great. I mean, it's always so. I think a lot of the people that we talk to on Trail Map have found pieces of things that interest them and have brought them together into the way they spend their time.
Yeah, totally. That's what I'm saying about, a career making sense in retrospect, right? Like
Yeah.
as I was practicing my creative writing and doing debate team, never had in my mind whatsoever that patent law existed even as a career, right? I thought I was just kind of flitting from interest to interest, doing the things that, kind of lit me up. And then patent law, I tell everyone that it was dumb luck that led me to my career. I had no idea it existed, and yet I had been kind of cultivating these skills over the, 20 years of my life up to that point. And when I found out about patent law, it was just a match made in heaven for everything that I loved and I still love. My initial interest has totally been borne out over the years. I've been in the career for 11 years now, and have loved every day of it. I think I have the best job in the world and couldn't be more happy about it.
That's
Is
wonderful.
it very variable, the length of time you're dealing with a specific? I don't know if you use the word case or like how long are you working on one thing or thinking about it?
Yeah, good question, Pat. So, the entire life cycle of a patent application is on the order of maybe 3 years or so, maybe a little bit more. But it's very much, you pick it up for a day or two at a time, and then you don't think about it for months at a time. So it's a very front-loaded process. So when an inventor, who's usually, an engineer at a company, maybe a startup founder, comes to us with their idea, it's very front-loaded in the sense that I need to fully understand how that invention works, right? So I will interview them to understand everything about how the technology operates, and then prepare a patent application, which is sort of a technical description of how the invention works. I think a lot of people hear patent application and they think it's just an administrative filing. You check some boxes and maybe file a couple of drawings of your invention, and that's it. But it's actually about 20 to 30 pages starting of technical description of every facet of how the invention works. So that process probably takes on the order of maybe up to 30 hours or so, typically 20 to 30 hours. And then once we file it, we don't see it for another year and a half, which is how long it takes for the patent office to pick it up and look at it. So it's their job to be the kind of opposing counsel, if you will. So they are only going to allow a patent application to proceed to a granted patent if they say, yep, nobody's ever done this before. It's novel, it's not obvious, and so therefore you get a patent for this invention. Those rounds of back and forth typically last maybe about 5 to 10 hours. So all told, Pat, over the course of 3 years, we're probably spending maybe 50 or so hours working on it.
So then you're in patent pending territory for a while.
That's
there.
right. Yeah. Yep. As soon as you get an application on file, you can say patent pending, even if it's just a total nonsense application that would never really get granted.
And does that kind of grants you protection during that time, sort of?
Yeah, sort of. So it can put people on notice that you have a patent pending, which the very short version, Pat, is that if somebody were to ever be found liable for patent infringement, you might be entitled to more money because, hey, look, I put patent pending on it. It was your job to look and see what patents might have existed. So, you were on notice that you could be infringing someone's patent.
Before we get too far into the patent world, I'm curious, you came into, and this may be oversimplifying your interests, but you came into the patent world with a real interest in the sciences and how things worked. Now, I think a lot of people, including myself, when we think about patents, like a big part of it is defensibility and is, there can be money making in it for people. I'm curious philosophically how you think about patents. Like, do you feel like patents are a good thing? Do they help us? Can you share something about that?
No, it's something I think about a lot, right? Especially with, a few years ago with Martin Shkreli in the news, the kind of pharma bro guy.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right that patents can be abused and can be used in a manner that is probably not beneficial to the world. But I'll tell you about how I think about it. So the reason that we have patents, let's take a step back, actually, because I think many people, hear patent and they think they know what it means, but maybe aren't fully familiar with what a patent does. So a patent gives you a 20-year monopoly on your invention. So once your patent is granted, for up to 20 years after that, nobody is allowed to make, use, or sell whatever your patent covers. And so if you have a patent to, a life-saving drug, you are the only one who is allowed to manufacture that drug for the next 20 years. And it, doesn't take a whole lot of creative writing to figure out how that could lead to some bad outcomes, right? So why do we have that system? We have that system because it encourages, the constitutional language is progress in the arts and sciences. That's why we have patents. They provide incentives for people to innovate in the first place. So the argument would go, sure, I have a monopoly to make this drug for the next 20 years, and that may drive prices up for consumers. But hey, this drug would never exist if not for the patent system, because if I didn't know that I could get a patent to justify the investment in all that R&D, I would never have invented this product in the first place. Does that make sense, Matt? Does that answer your question?
For sure, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a reward for a potential reward for inventing new things that could be really impactful.
Exactly. Yeah. It is supposed to incentivize R&D, and yeah, it's a balancing act, right? I mean, on one hand, it incentivizes R&D. On the other hand, it can drive prices up for consumers. So you're absolutely right. It's not a perfect system, but I feel pretty confident that it's a good system.
Can you divulge any interesting things that have crossed your desk in the recent past, or what, even from long ago, just things that stick out for you that were either complicated or just like notably interesting?
Yeah, complicated. One comes immediately to mind. Oh goodness. Yeah, I'll see if I can put this in vague terms while maintaining confidentiality and seeing how much I can really stretch how much I remember. But it was for this defense company, and they had figured out a way to model plasma dynamics, like how particles move in a plasma cloud, using only lasers. So there's no actual plasma, but they figured out how to make lasers sort of a physical analogy to how plasmas operate. And that one, oh my goodness, it was such a bear. And, it was such a painful process with the patent office because, every time we got on the phone with them, we would have to re-explain how the invention works and say, yep, I know this sounds like, magic. I know this sounds like it's all make-believe, but I swear it's real. And here's why we deserve a patent. And oh my goodness, Pat, it was just a years-long slog to argue with the patent office about that one. But how cool is that, right? That I get to be exposed to that kind of technology years before it ever reaches the market, right?
Were you drawing? So in that case, were you drawing on some of your background, your physics and electrical engineering background to like understand what they were talking about? Or
Yeah.
is that, yeah.
Totally, yeah. The vast majority of what I do would not be possible if I didn't have my 4 years of electrical engineering training to have those technical skills. So, yeah, even though I'm an attorney, right, I also went to law school. Even though I'm an attorney, I could not do this job if I didn't have a technical degree. It is still very, very technical in nature.
Can you talk a little bit about the like people side of your work, and you're dealing with people that are inventing new things that are deeply technical?
Mhm.
Does that require certain skill sets on your side to like help them, connect to like what might be patentable, or like just like even just some of the soft skills that you use?
Yeah, totally. So I used to say that my missed calling was in hospitality because I love, like having dinner parties, having people over for cocktails. I had a phase where I was extremely into making cocktails, and nothing got me more excited than like designing a new recipe, making one up from scratch, like tailored to a person. I love just like making people feel comfortable and cultivating that sense of hospitality. So I used to say that until I realized that a lot of what I do, I'm also in the service industry, right? Just like, a bar is maybe. And the product that we're selling is certainly much different. But at the end of the day, it's my job to kind of translate legal problems into business solutions for people, right? And so, yeah, it's something I think about a lot, Matt, is I'll put it this way. One of my mentors here at the firm, Peter Lando, one of his favorite phrases that guides my work every day is "don't tell me no, tell me how." And what he means by that is, it's not enough as an attorney to just say, okay, CEO, your problems are here, here, and here. Here's your legal exposure if you do those things. Well, that's great. I mean, that's table stakes to be a good attorney, but it doesn't get us all the way there, which is, okay, well, what should I do next? Um, uh, Business owners are looking for counsel, right? They're looking for trusted advisors to navigate through the legal issues to run their business most effectively. And so I see a lot of my job as taking in all of the kind of legal realities, and the kind of output that I'm providing is not, here's where you're exposed. My output should be, here are the concerns, and here are the 2 to 3 options that are available to you, and here's the one I recommend and why. So a lot of my job, right, is kind of translating legal realities into business solutions.
When you say the options, are you talking about like actual modifications to the invention itself, or just how it's described, or what do you mean?
Yeah, it can be a lot of that, right? So, if you think about, let's say you had the patent on the bicycle, right? What does it mean to have a patent on a bicycle? Does that mean that a motorcycle is covered by that patent? Does that mean a tricycle is covered? So, what does it actually mean to define the scope of a patent? We put it in words, right? So, we would, have one single sentence that captures what the invention is. And that's a lot of what our job is crafting that sentence, which we call a claim, to be as broad as possible, right? So yes, sometimes it's how do we craft this claim in a manner that is going to stop your competitors from entering into a similar space. And there can be other concerns as well, right? Maybe the client really needs to publicly disclose their invention somewhere tomorrow. Um, but they don't have any patent applications filed yet, which is a problem. You want to have a patent application filed before a disclosure. So it's not enough to say, hey, you can't make that presentation tomorrow. You have to say, hey, just send me this, this, and this, and I'll get enough filed so that you're legally in the clear to make that presentation tomorrow. It's a very simple example, but that's one of the issues that we deal with on the day to day.
I'm just curious about like with companies where maybe a patent or an invention is like literally the core of keeping that company alive. It strikes me that they're like in terms of like the value, the future value of that company. It seems like there probably are moments where patent applications are more routine and then moments where patent applications are everything for a company and you're dealing with a lot of pressure. And I'm just curious, like, how do you manage that in the way that you offer your services?
Yeah, it's a tough balance, Matt, because often there's an inverse correlation between how important the patent is and how many resources are available to the company. Because for a large Fortune 500 company who has tons of resources, IBM has over 10,000 patents. I don't think that the 10,001st patent is going to make or break the company, right? Whereas for a startup company, at the beginning, all you have is an idea, and your patent is so important to you. Whatever patent protection you have, I mean, that is the whole company, right? And yet, a lot of startups don't really have a lot of resources to have that patent protection to hire a good attorney. So it's something I grapple with, and to the extent possible, I always try to work with startups in the most cost efficient manner. And I heard, Matt, on one of your earlier episodes, you were talking about how nice it is to work at a big company where you can reach out to the in-house counsel and not have to be worried about getting charged for that, right? And I totally get that. So for our smaller clients, I try to give a free hour or two of counseling each month to make sure that they're getting the best possible protection. But yeah, I mean it's certainly a challenge. Did I answer your question, Matt?
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm just trying to I think one of the things that we try to do with Trail Map is like put our listeners in your shoes in these moments where kind of to think about the human aspect of that pressure a little bit. So I think that's helpful. That's helpful perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, how many things are you dealing with at once that you were saying you pick it up for a couple hours and put it down, but like how many things do you have to keep in mind?
Yeah. So I'm a partner here at the firm, Lando Anastasi. I don't think I mentioned, but we are an intellectual property boutique, which means all we do is intellectual property. That's our bread and butter. And now that I'm at the partner level where I'm doing a lot more, kind of overseeing management of patent portfolios rather than doing the, direct drafting a lot of the time, which, I still do, but not to quite the same extent. I would say I'm probably managing about 200 or so, maybe 200, 300 active patent families. And when we say active, we mean, the patent has not been granted yet. Again, it's that kind of 3-year lead time at minimum. And then even once a patent is granted, that's not the end of all patents you could ever possibly get on whatever you disclosed in that original application. You can file what we call continuation applications, and they're just additional claim sets that can cover the invention in different ways. So for a startup company, a common strategy we might use is to say, look, this first patent filing is a foundational patent filing. It covers the meat and bones, the heart of basically the most fundamental version of what your invention is. So we would suggest keeping this patent family alive as long as possible and having tons of additional claim sets in the form of those subsequent applications to provide, this as what we call a patent thicket, a whole array of patents protecting the invention.
This is again probably revealing my lack of sophistication on patent front, but I know there's design patents, right, which are mostly focused on the aesthetics design of a device, and then there are utility patents, which have more to do with the functionality of whatever you're patenting. Are there other categories of patents that you're dealing with as well?
Not so much. There are technically plant patents, which I have actually never worked on before. I
Okay.
don't know anybody who has. But yeah, you're right, Matt. Those are the two big categories. Usually, when people talk about a patent, they're talking about a utility patent,
Yep.
which covers the way something works. But design patents are incredibly important and powerful. Like you said, they cover the way something looks, so they're pretty narrowly construed, whereas a utility patent can be way broader.
Uh-huh.
But you may be familiar with the famous Apple versus Samsung case where Apple had a design patent on just the kind of rounded, beveled shape of the screen of the iPhone, which today is so incredibly prolific, right? But this was 20 years ago. The iPhone didn't exist 20 years ago, and so they ended up successfully suing Samsung for design patent infringement. The original judgment was above $1 billion. It ended up getting reduced, but they're incredibly powerful tools.
I know you're a young guy, so I don't know to what extent you
He's like,
can.
I'm 64. I just run.
I just have a good
Yeah.
skincare routine.
Yeah.
I don't know to what extent you can reflect on this, but I'm curious about the way the patent landscape has shifted over time, and how you would characterize the patent landscape today versus like even like 50 years ago. Like
Yeah.
what does it look like today?
Yeah. Yeah. So, right before I started practicing, which was in 2015, there was a major Supreme Court decision that really cast a lot of doubt on how you can obtain patents on software based inventions, which today, there are so many software based inventions that if they could not be patented, that would be very problematic for American industry, right? And so it is a point that is pretty difficult to grapple with. And when I first started practicing, nobody really knew what the limits were on where you could get a software patent and where you could not. And so when I first started, I worked so much on cases where they were really tough, can you patent the software issues? There's been over the last, 11 years of my practicing, that has smoothed out quite a bit. We've gotten a lot more clarity on how you can get a software patent granted. It's still a challenge. You need to really think very critically about it as early as possible. Just yesterday, I was working on this patent application for a client who has a software-based invention, and there's some clear issues that we need to account for. And if we don't draft the patent application right at the outset with those issues in mind, it would be a problem. We probably couldn't get a patent on it. But because over the last 11 years, there has been a lot more case law development clarifying when you can get a software patent, we now have the tools we need to preempt those issues before they come. So it's not a non-issue now, but it certainly is, something that was a lot more problematic when I first started practicing. And then in the industry more broadly, the topic du jour, AI, is shaking everything up. So right now, AI cannot be an inventor on something. So no matter how well, for example, you prompt ChatGPT, whatever, even if it spits out an idea that would be patentable if a human had done it, you can't have a patent on that because AI is not an inventor. Similarly, Pat, you're in the music industry. I'm sure you're very familiar with all the AI copyright concerns that exist. So that's certainly a rapidly evolving area as well. Not so much my day to day, but something I do practice a little bit of.
Yeah. Touches everything. Do you
Yeah.
use any AI tools in your work?
Yeah, we do use some. So a lot of the kind of enterprise models are very good for getting up to speed on a new technology. So before, I have a background in electrical engineering, but that doesn't mean that I perfectly remember, how the radio frequency modules work in a smartphone, right? And so when I'm doing that kind of like deep RF engineering work, I need to brush up. Historically, I've got textbooks up here on my desk that I would look at to get up to speed. Now, fortunately, it's a lot easier. So I find the enterprise models are very good at having that back and forth to get me up to speed on a new technology area. So that's wonderful. There are plenty of services that offer IP specific AI services. So things that can help like analyze an office action, which is to say a communication from the patent office where they lay out why the application is not ready for grant yet. And it will say, hey, here are some flaws in the patent examiner's argument. None of it is really good enough yet to be a substitute for a patent attorney's judgment, but it's another tool in the tool belt that certainly is helpful and can help flag some things that we would have otherwise maybe not been immediately drawn to.
Do you see the frequency or the nature of the way that your clients are reaching out to you shifting with AI? Like they're plugging it in to be like, what's John going to say about this before they reach out to you?
Yes, I am. It can be. So let's start with the kind of bear case for it, or the bull
Yeah.
case, as it were. It can be great, right? I mean, patent language is confusing. It is very difficult for somebody who has only been involved as an inventor in the patent process to understand the full metes and bounds of what the patent process involves. And so in that sense, AI is great for helping to get inventors up to speed on how the patent process works. Sometimes I will communicate with clients and they'll have a list of 20 questions that were generated with the help of AI, and that at best, like maybe some of the questions are relevant. The vast majority are really not applicable to what we're doing. And I don't mind that personally, right? Like I actually love the role of educator, right? And explaining, the patent world to clients. Clients do not love when they see that they have to pay me to answer those, 20 questions, 16 of which probably aren't too relevant. So yes, it's an interesting dynamic right now. I also just have concerns as an attorney, because there are a lot of confidentiality concerns, right? So if you put your invention into a public-facing model, like the free version of ChatGPT, that is arguably disclosure of your invention, and you've now foregone the ability to obtain a patent on your invention.
Oh.
Right, and so there were already so many traps for the unwary in the patenting process, where inventors could really jeopardize their patent rights without realizing it, and AI multiplies that tenfold. And also just concerns around like attorney-client privilege. There was recently a case where a client took his attorney's advice and put it into ChatGPT and said, like, how should I understand this advice and what should I say back to him? And just by doing that, he lost all privilege, all confidentiality rights to the advice that he put into that chatbot. There have been decisions that came down on the other side, so it's still an uncertain area of law, but it is certainly something that, as attorneys, keeps us up at night.
It's interesting to think about. I mean, I've spent much more time trying to understand what is and is not copyright law in terms of music than patent law. But
Yeah,
I mean, like in the case of music, if you have written something down, technically you have a copyright on it, and then
exactly.
you behoove yourself to register it with the government.
Yep.
But like it's not a thing where if you put it on a public facing forum, then you forfeit the the opportunity.
Exactly.
But in both of those cases, though, I mean, my perception is that there's a fair amount of like, I don't know if subjectivity is exactly the right word, but like trying to carve out like when something is actually unique. Would you use the word subjectivity, or do you think of it in a more like systematic, more scientific way, I guess?
Yeah, totally. So you're asking if, whether something is new, novel, and patentable, how subjective that question is?
Yeah, yes, because like, there are so many things out there. There's so
Yeah.
many inventions out there. I mean,
No, you're
yeah,
absolutely right, Pat.
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so it's a mix of objectivity and subjectivity. In an ideal world, it would be perfectly objective, but that's not really the case. So in order to get a patent, one of the requirements is that it be novel, right? It's never been done before. That's pretty easy to show objectively, because there we're asking, has this literal thing existed before? And that's pretty objective, because if there's even one minor difference between what you're saying your invention is and what has existed before, then no problem, it's novel. The more difficult hurdle to overcome, where there is more subjectivity, is it obvious? So just because what you've done before is novel, or pardon me, what your invention is novel, has never been done before exactly, that's not enough. You also have to show that it is not just a mere obvious variation on what has come before. So that's where the 95% of my job is arguing with patent examiners about whether something is obvious or not. And there's, 15 different tests to say what it means to be obvious and when something is obvious and when it's not. So yes, there is quite a bit of subjectivity to it.
So that's a binary, it falls down on, is it obvious or is it not?
Exactly.
That seems tough.
Yeah. Yeah. But you can't have a patent unless it is non-obvious. So, in the end, we usually are successful, 95+% of the time, but doesn't mean it's always a fun road to get there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that our listeners are feeling this way, but I think in all of my conversations with you and my emails with you, like I've always been impressed with your ability to teach people new things. Would you say that was something that was an important kind of for you growing up? Like you mentioned, your brother is also, working for a education institute,
Yeah.
WPI. So I'm curious, like where you think that interest came from in teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first time I can remember really being involved in an explicit teaching role was actually full circle teaching Physics 2 when I was in college. So for 6 semesters, I taught Physics 2. I absolutely loved that. There was nothing more gratifying to me than to demystify Physics 2, which, is a notoriously terribly difficult class that every engineer had to take, even if it was, very unrelated.
Well, what's included? What's the scope of Physics 2? What are we talking about?
Yeah, so it's pretty wide ranging. The vast majority of it is electromagnetism. So how do circuits work? How does your phone send a signal to a cell tower? And how are we talking right now? How is it that just through electromagnetic waves, you and I are talking right now in real time? So that's the vast majority of it. Some of it is also like Einstein's theories of relativity, things of that nature. But yeah, the vast majority is electromagnetism.
Just been reading. I don't know if you ever came across this book from the 70s, The Tao of Physics by.
I'm not familiar with it. No.
I don't know how you say his name. Friedhof Capra, 1975, and it's the general gist of it is he's comparing modern, this is 50 years ago, but modern physics with Eastern religions and how there's a Venn diagram, but both of which are very interesting to me. But just his descriptions of subatomic physics and electromagnetism and all these things that you were mentioning too, and 4-dimensional space-time, how it's curved.
Mm-hmm.
All of that stuff is just mind-blowing and fascinating to me. And like I remember loving physics in high school and like not really going down the science path. I stayed in the humanities path. But just having been reminded of it reading this book, like how we kind of have a handle on how this stuff works, but it's kind of just like, what?
100%.
Like probability, like particles are just probabilities. Subatomic particles are just probabilities. They're not really stuff. Like stuff is not really stuff. I don't know. Do you ever dive into that? Like, whoa, man! Like,
100%, 100%. Yes. So I know that book by reputation. I didn't know the name of it. I mean, you think about how habituated we've become to things like the iPhone. I mean, the amount of magic that is in that little, tiny box is inconceivable to somebody 50 years ago, right?
Yes.
It's funny how quickly we get habituated to things where, like AI chatbots. We have this magic answer box now that did not exist until 3.5 years ago, and already it's just like, it's pretty good. It hallucinates sometimes. I absolutely think about that. One of my favorite movies is The Prestige. Have you guys ever seen it?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Matt, let's log off right now, and you got to spend the rest of the day watching it. It's the first movie I've ever watched where I got to the end of it and then immediately restarted it because oh my God, it's fantastic. I'm not going to ruin anything, Matt. But what'd you say? It might
I watch it tonight. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I don't want to spoil it, Matt, but it involves magic, and there's also some science involved. And for me, it kind of painted the picture that there's a thin line between what we understand as science and what somebody 100 years ago would just think of as magic, right? And so I think getting back to sort of my interest in physics from a young age in high school, that was a big part of it, right? It was kind of demystifying these things in the world that could be magic in another world. So teaching physics to my colleagues in undergrad then at RPI, that was so fun because physics was very difficult. It was kind of a notoriously difficult class for people, and I viewed it as a great chance to help people understand these in the most these topics in the most digestible manner possible, and make a difficult class otherwise more approachable and maybe even fun. And so that's where I started my love of teaching, was in college. And then, like you said, Matt, I now teach as an adjunct professor at Suffolk University. Been doing that for a couple of years now, and that's such a pleasurable part of my day in my life, right? Getting to demystify the law now. So much different topic, but also very similar in that it's sort of this invisible force that governs our lives, similar to physics, right? I don't want to get too woo-woo about it, but
No, I like it. I like
yeah,
it.
there you go, Pat. But yeah, we live our lives through society governed by laws that many people don't understand the workings of, and so it's very fun to expose them to kind of the hidden formulas that govern why laws are what they are.
What aspect of law are you teaching?
Yeah, so I first started off teaching legal research and writing. So teaching law students how to structure a legal argument, how to convey information as clearly as possible. Over the past year, I transitioned to teaching undergraduate students. The class is business law, and so this is for a class for future business owners. And the idea is what aspects of the law do you need to know about in order to be an effective business owner, right? You learn just enough to know, hey, I actually need to call an attorney about this now. So we touch on things like contracts. When is a contract formed? How are contracts interpreted? When can your employee bind your organization to some obligation? Things like that.
That's really cool. I would like to take that class.
It's
Yeah.
very fun.
So it strikes me as we're like getting to know you here, like you've got your day job, you've got pieces of your day job that light you up in different ways. You're touching inventions and technology. There's a teaching element to the way that you're working with clients and helping them through their business, and then outside of work you've got teaching young people who are building their own skill sets. And we've talked a bit about running. Love to hear more about like the role running plays in your life. But I mean, how intentional is this like puzzle that you're putting together of all these different pieces?
Yeah. So you're asking, how intentional is the way that I allocate my time for all of these interests? Yeah, I would say it's quite intentional. Like I said earlier in our chat, am hugely extroverted. In an ideal world, I'm hanging out with one of my friends every single day. And so I am very I jealously guard my time because I never want to spend any second indoors. I'm not a big sit on the couch kind of guy. So I'm very invested in how I allocate my time. And so, yeah, I would say that with teaching, I come back every semester. It's not a long-term obligation. It's 3 months at a time. But I am always, always, always down to keep teaching because that really lights me up. That is probably, don't tell my colleagues here who are going to listen to this podcast, but that's probably my favorite part of the day is teaching, teaching students, but also, teaching clients about legal issues. And, the running, I think, scratches a different itch for me, which is, one, just my health, enough said. But two is I'm a huge audiobook and podcast guy. So that's sort of my chance to just kind of zone out, listen to what I want to listen to. And so that scratches a totally different itch. But yeah, I'm quite intentional about my time. I like to think that I often reevaluate, is this something that's part of my life that's adding a lot of value? And if not, maybe I can deprioritize it. Historically, I competed in marathons. I was more or less always training for a marathon, and eventually realized, I'm spending, I'm running 50 to 60 miles a week. It's running 6 days a week. That is a lot of time spent just, with my own thoughts. And as an extrovert, that's not necessarily my favorite thing to do. So yes, I kind of deprioritize that. Now I run more for fun, less on a schedule, and I have more time to do the kind of fun things with friends that I want to do. So yeah, I'm always sort of reallocating my time as I'm checking in with myself and seeing, are these things that I'm spending my time on adding a lot of value?
Did you run growing up, or was that a later in life?
Yeah, totally later in life.
Yeah.
I remember thinking in college, like it would be amazing if I could run for longer than 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, no, I was not at all an athletic child. Like I said, big into reading, not so big into exercise. So I definitely got into it later in life. It was actually COVID for the most part. So over COVID, I was super into audiobooks and podcasts, and just wanted to get out of the house. And so running was such a great way to, safely get some exercise and get to listen to my audiobooks and podcasts, and eventually kind of tricked myself into liking running when really it was the podcasts and the audiobooks that got me started.
I remember early COVID, everybody would just be walking. Like I was sitting on my front porch and there would just be people, just huge hordes of people walking by. Just like, oh.
COVID was an extremely challenging time for extroverts.
It sure was. And luckily at the time I was living with my two best friends, so I still had my, social time. But
Yeah.
but I don't know about you guys. I look back on it with kind of rose-colored glasses. I feel like I must have had Stockholm syndrome because I kind of nostalgize it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we do too. We do too.
I mean, yeah, horrible in many ways, but like there's a little bit of a snow day vibe.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
So I guess before we leave reading, what are you reading right now? Anything that you might recommend to our audience?
Yeah, a few of my recent favorites that I recommend. I love Pachinko is one of my favorite books I've read recently. Piranesi is another amazing one. Gosh, the name is escaping me right now, but it was written by the guy who, if I can rudely look it up on this other tab while I talk.
Go for it.
It was written by one of the showrunners for Game of Thrones.
I read a book by him that I loved. Maybe it's the same one. I hope it's the same one.
Yeah, it's set in World War II.
Yes.
Yep, City of Thieves, that's it.
City of Thieves, great book.
Amazing book. Yeah, so good, especially if you're into historical fiction. Devil in the White City is another great historical fiction book.
Great one.
If I can tell a quick side story. So at RPI, Rensselaer Polytech, where I went to undergrad, our engineering building has like a shrine to the Ferris wheel because George Ferris, who went to RPI, invented the Ferris wheel. And, I'd be walking in my class and I'd think like, we invented the internet, we invented AI, arguably. We've got the first quantum computer. Why is the Ferris wheel, this carnival ride, like what we're putting on a pedestal? So in City of Thieves, I learned that it was sort of America's answer to the Eiffel Tower in the World's Fair in Chicago. But anywho, so those are a couple books that I've loved recently. Right now I'm reading, gosh, can I pronounce it? Kaiki. So it is, if you've ever heard of I'm going to mispronounce this too, but the Ramayana. It's kind of a classic Indian myth story. And this book tells the story from the point of view of the vilified character in the traditional telling of the Ramayana. So it's sort of like Wicked, right?
I was going to say, you beat me to it.
Yeah. But I'm in 3 different book clubs. So I'm reading that one. And then for my other book clubs, I'm reading The Long Walk by Stephen King and Secret of Secrets by Dan Brown for the other one.
I knew you'd have a good answer for that question. You've filled up my entire 2026 reading
There
list.
you go. There you go. I wish I was still on Goodreads.
Do you audio them or do you read them?
It's a mix. I prefer reading. So every morning I'm fanatical about starting my day with just coffee and reading for at least a half hour. And so I prefer print, but because I do so much running, I do a lot of listening then.
Yeah, that's practical. Are you solo man? Are you partner man? Are you family man?
I have a girlfriend. Yep. We've been together for 5 years. And not interested in kids, but fortunately we're aligned on that. So
that's good. I just had a lingering question in my mind about the business. Is does your firm or firms like your firm, when there's like a challenge to a patent or like a hey, like do you deal with that type of thing as well?
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Hey,
that's the formal legal term. Yeah, but in Latin, hey. Yeah. So
hey,
you can't do that. Yep. So what I do is called prosecution, which means that I help get patents granted. That's most of my work, but I am involved in some of the adversarial work. But what you're describing, Pat, we would call litigation. So that is when you think. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Hopefully not from personal experience.
No.
But yeah, if you think that somebody is infringing on your patent, you would file a lawsuit, and that would begin the litigation process. So I actually do love the adversarial work, but typically you kind of have to pick a lane, prosecution or litigation. And I like the prosecution work more, even though I do love the more adversarial stuff. But yeah, so I dabble. And
Got it.
and to answer your question more directly, there are folks at my firm who specialize only in litigation. So yes, our firm does it all.
One-stop shop.
That's right.
Well, John, I know we're coming up on time here, but I just really wanted to say a huge thanks to you for sharing your brain with us for an hour. It's been really fun to chat and listen to you think about your life, and I think you have a real model for for me and for other listeners to think about how we're allocating our time. It's really very inspiring to see how purposeful you are with your time.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. I feel like I could talk to you guys for another couple hours, but unfortunately, we all have jobs to get back to, I'm sure.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
so
Went
thank you
quick.
so much for having
Went
me on.
quick.
Yeah, Pat, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, it went quick. The hour went quick.
Oh, it went quick. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, we've had lots of good conversations here, but this was a great one. So thanks again, and hope we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, and I'll be looking for that invite for the beer tasting with Chris.
Okay, sounds
Yeah,
good.
we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
What a guy.
Woo! Great guy.
Do you feel any different about IP than you did coming in?
I know a little bit more, but I have more questions.
Just the tip of the iceberg, I guess.
Yeah.
What's your next question?
I meant to ask him what he thinks about the 20-year thing, if he thinks that's dead on, or if it should be more or less, or if there's other things he would like to modify in broad strokes about the structure of patent law.
That's a good question.
I should have thought of that.
Well, I think you asked a lot of really good questions, so I think
man,
it'll still be a good conversation, even
Yeah, it
though
was.
maybe you didn't get. I don't want you to have any regrets here, Pat. You're bringing so much here.
I mean, he's as John said, it's a balancing act of regret and nostalgia,
Yeah,
humanity.
yeah. What's next for you? Do you have any tour travel coming up or anything? Or are you home for a while?
Home for a little bit here. Springtime. I love the springtime.
I know.
So wonderful.
I was getting ice cream the other night with Will, and he said to me, I just feel like I have so much more energy
Yeah, dude.
this time of year. And I'm like, I know, it's hope.
It's because it's 71 degrees out.
It's hope. Got a t-shirt on. Don't have to bundle up. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah. And then it's, school's out. It's going to be summertime. It's crazy. Time is wild.
I know. It is wild.
What about you? I mean, I know you're going to the lumberyard.
We're going to lumberyard. Gonna be hopefully doing a little building project this weekend.
Nice.
Heej has been doing a lot of planting in our garden.
Oh, great. I want to do more of that.
So we've got some lettuces coming up, and Will has planted some flowers. So that's all happening. But great conversation, and yeah, hope you have a nice weekend, nice Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. We love you, moms.
All right, go moms. Trail Map is hosted by Matt Gregory and Patrick Direwolf. Editing and production by Matt Gregory. Music by Patrick Direwolf. Animation direction by Hati Nguyen and Nana Teja Paival.